Rent or buy a house?
Dude, this topic, I actually did a paper when I was
Give
first
the
year.
link.
No, but it's not an official paper. It's basically just a first year project, so it's not that details. It was a project that I did during my uni, and this was given by my professor itself. They want me to do a research about renting and buying a house. If you guys listen to what I mentioned, the way I speak is that I'm more leaning towards renting instead of buying.
Really?
But it has good and bad in a certain way. So why do I say so? So the normal culture that we can see in European country, they don't buy house, most of them, usually. The reason is why. One is because their housing price is very expensive. You know, if you want to buy a house in, let's say, Paris, I don't know how much is it, but it's gonna be hell of expensive. That's why they don't buy house. And also because most European people usually either stay by themselves or by girlfriend, so they don't really have this kind of like family relationship. But our culture is a little bit different, where we buy houses because in case like maybe your mother's and father retirement, then you may have a place for them to stay. So for us, it's a little bit about culture. That's why we buy houses a lot, and it's actually driving through an economic problem, to be honest with you. But for me, I'm leaning toward renting to some extent. What I mean is that the norm that we have is that our parents, or we have this social pressure where everyone say you need to buy a house. Even for myself as well, from my closest relatives and friends, they're always saying you need to buy a house. I think you also experience the same thing. Yeah, you need to buy a house by this age and this age. You need to have this and this. You were imposed with certain kind of like goals that you need to achieve based on someone else's goal. You need to have a house at, let's say, 30s or 35. It's good. Let's say now you are working, so it's good that you don't buy a house immediately with a meager of, like, let's say your minimum wage of 3.5 as a fresh grad, and then you suddenly buy a house. That's crazy, man. You cannot afford to buy a house with that wage.
Yeah.
And the way our culture is, like, we're always driven to buy a house. So, but you need to buy it when you were able to afford it, not because someone said that you need to buy it.
How do you define you are able to afford it? I mean, you need to have like certain, let's say, probably a number, like 20% of the house price, or 30%.
There was this calculation, like 20% of your income is to be on your monthly car installment, and then 40%, or I can't remember. There was this ratio, 20, 40, 50. There was this one book that was mentioning about this. I cannot say from my side how much is it, because I'm not really too much into technical about how much you need to divert your money into this saving. But when you can say that you can buy a house is that when you feel it's necessity for you to have it, like that when you buy that house, you're gonna make sure that it's gonna be a place that you're gonna stay and you're gonna utilize it, not to buy it and rent it. That's a different one. As you see, you mentioned to me the culture now. You buying it to rent it. Why?
Make a little bit upgrade that is useless, and then you pump out 100, 200.
And that's what happening to our real estate at the moment.
Yeah, that's what
they are buying it, but to rent it.
Yeah.
And the people who actually wants to buy it, for their housing purpose, they weren't able to have it at the the market price, because the company that are buying this are inflating the price, because now the company are buying, and the number of unit is limited, and we get this artificial supply and demand, where you're thinking, the developer are thinking, dude, there's a lot of people are demanding for house, let's build more, let's increase the price. But it's not actually from the people, it's actually from the company who's renting it.
Yeah.
And the rent is not cheap at the moment now. The room are getting smaller and rent are getting more expensive because of this behavior we are moving towards. And my concern is that I hope it doesn't, but I don't see that Malaysia gonna have any house bubble crisis like United States. Hopefully not, because the way we give loans is a bit strict, to be honest. But I'm hoping that I'm wrong on this. Housing bubble is very dangerous. If it happens, people who have taken loans, maybe your aunties or someone who are at 40 and 50 are paying their 50 years loan and in their 20 paying terms, and suddenly this kind of things happen, it's going to be bad for them, to be honest.
Yeah. When you say about that, I mean, there's probably a counter argument on whether, because you're leaning on renting, and people say buy a house even though you pay like around, let's say, 1,400 or 1,300 per month. Actually, you buy things that it will be yours. And for you, if you're renting until you are like 40, 50 years old, and then let's say you retire at 55, and then you need your KWSP money to just survive, and then you use that money to buy a house, and then what's left? This.
Yeah, I mean, this argument is like very clear. To be honest, I was also going towards that approach as well. Like, that's why I said you can buy a house when you can afford it. Because most of the youngsters, or most of us, we buy a house when we are unable to afford it. Even though the loan have been approved to you, you think that you can afford it, and suddenly you cannot pay it. So where does who gonna pay the loan for you? Your parents, your father and mother? Of course no. And you're putting a burden to your family as well. So that's why I said this kind of thing is when you think it's necessity. It's when you think that you are capable of having this kind of thing. Because like you said, when you're retired, you want to have a place where you can stay. It's yours. You own it. But you have to do it smart. You don't do it because someone said, or because you think, okay, I like this kind of house. I want studio, example. I want a studio house, and I want it in Cyberjaya, for example. Maybe, don't buy it because of pressure, but buy it when you have made the thought for buying it for your purpose of like for your old age retirement. And also be smart, because bank doesn't really give you all the information for you to take this kind of loan. They want for you to utilize it the best that they can get the profit from you.
Yeah.
Yes. Make your research. I would advise, yes, you can take advices from influencer online, yes and no, but do your own research, because sometimes they may have conflict of interest, some of the influencer. No, I'm not saying to anyone, no, it's not to anyone, but do your own research is much more better. What are the loan, what are the tenure, how much you need to pay, whether it's floating rate or fixed rate. That's why this knowledge is very important for you to know before you can buy a house. Yeah.